This is still a testing uh, presenting the 3C communication system that I have developed in 1974, 75 during the time when I'm getting my master's degrees. What is interesting from this, uh, the visual here, the 3C stands for the communication dynamics in the red, and then the communication analytica on the blue on the right. And in between, the center of it is called the cultural spheres, which with the system developed some almost 50 years ago, is giving me now a little bit of regurgitation, a little bit maturity since the time of development. What I believe the part of the evolution in the psychoanalysis from Sigmund Freud to all these years into the Americas with all the other psychologists and psychiatrists have made the modifications in, instead of a therapeutic analysis. I have already at that time envisioning that the interpersonal communication skills and the counseling part of it can be done in a much more casual and informal way. Uh, Given the time and the moment in our world society, I think every day we practice some kind of advising, some sort of a counseling, between our family members in our working communities and community settings. So I think it's very pertinent that in this particular time, when we are going back, I will try to make it more in detail about the evolution from Freudian psychology, psychoanalysis, into the area and the arena of the communications and the counseling system that I have started in 1974. In that particular time and point, with the background coming up from a cross-cultural um, surroundings, where I was born in China in 1948, and moving from Shanghai, my birth city, to Hong Kong, Macau, and changing the languages of the dialects, which is the Cantonese language. My mother tongue, my mother spoke was a Cantonese, and my father is from the province of Zhejiang, upstream from the city of Shanghai. So all this language, the intonation, the sound system, and whatnot has made all this modification and changing and adaptations. And now we moved from out of Asia in 1962 from Macau to Brazil, where I picked up previously the foreign languages such as the learning of English in the Macau school system. And then by joining the Salesians religious school system, and also starting as a practitioner of the Roman Catholic, I got the exposure with the Latin Mass service, and also, very importantly, I think the singing of the Gregorian theme. So this is one of those developments. But here in the general picture, you see the 3 C's a bit as you are visualizing, and then in the communication analytica, when you see that square and round and a triangle, and that is also a part of the development away from the psychology, more into the cultural anthropology or the interface of two disciplines. And this is what I have developed as of this during the COVID time, 5 years, the psychology of round and square. So it's a mixture of topics about the 3C system developed. And then in the ambience, cultural ambience today, we can simplify the 3C communication system back to the use of the visuals, the round and the square and the triangle. Apart of that, this is where the another development from the psychology in the West, and then reflecting on my cultural journey back, where this psychology round and square had moving me back to very strongly influenced by the Brazilian educator, psychologist, Paulo Freire, who's talk about the conscientization. And from that conscientization had moving me back through history and looking back into the Chinese psychology, which had me touch my base with Wang Yangming in the 14th century. So this is another cultural sphere you can see is a conglomerate. You can see in the sequence about we all looking for knowledge, and some of the knowledge move into the area of intelligence where we can use operate by way of a thinking under in the green you can see reason, you can see rational thinking, and also irrational thinking. What is important from this ecological balance, knowledge to intelligence, now we have AI intelligence, and all this can be filtered by way of the human conscience and back to the wisdom. And this wisdom can also, we talk about good and benevolent intelligence, and then filtering the into the body of knowledge. And this is for me is a conscientological civilization formation or a ecological way in how we think. And going further back in the emphases of the cultural spheres, as you can see, I have expanded the cultural sphere in Go and leave the communication dynamics and the communication analytica still shaping the three languages. To move a little bit further down with this development, I'm using the cultural spheres, how to even talk about when did the Chinese study about the conscientological studies at the time and period 500 BC with Confucius, Lao Tzu, and Buddha. And as you can see in the upper level, I'm using the different dynasties from the Shang dynasty, which is about 3,300 years ago. The Zhou dynasty is between 500 BC, and then moving to the Qing, and Han, and Tang, and Sung. And then eventually the Mongolian era, which is called the Yuan dynasty, back to the left to Ming, and to the Manchus, was the Qing dynasty, and then the Chinese Republic, and then the PRC, the People's Republic of China. What I'm trying to, the way using the cultural spheres and give us a very good way, even of this pointed, the bridges, you can overlay and you can use the size eventually develop the color using the size to give yourself some kind of a metric to measure. And here we're talking about in the way I use. It doesn't have to be all spheres, but just about conscientological study, I use my correlation between Paulo Freire's opening up to me the conscientization and to relating back to the 1472-1529 of Wang Yangming in the Ming era, and where his teaching called the language of the hearts. And I'm making my attempt to translate it into conscientology. And this is the overall emphasis about the conscientological civilization. It's the way I perceive it. But then again, this is the way I put it into the conscientological studies is a part of my interpretation. And what is in common, you see in the middle with the white sign in Chinese is very well known to Wang's effort is to induce and to teach and to foster kind knowledge. And with this graphics, I think we can move in a little bit more to the general area. But jump ahead a little bit. We're talking about in what I have developed in the world of AI and WI, from a Chinese language translating artificial intelligence. And for the Chinese to talk about man, labor, smart, and wisdom is basically already talking about the wisdom of man. And so I think I would like to see the word of credit to give you another perspective and a cross-cultural perspective, just artificial intelligence and man-made wisdom. Okay, and so just a way to move into the AI in Chinese is about man-made wisdom, and then in AI is artificial intelligence in the West. Just a general idea. Um, I hope we can learn from it. We can share it. And this is just my first day of trying to make my graphics and the way that I used cultural spheres in many instances.